welcome to Iron Views TV. Finally, for the first time since starting the show, we're able to celebrate a West Ham win after beating Sunderland 1-0. Also today, we'll be talking about Roy Hodgson's latest England squad and looking at the deteriorating condition of refereeing in the Premier League. To discuss all that, I'm delighted to welcome ex-West Ham midfielder Ian Bishop and Supporters Advisory Board member Nigel Kahn. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
So let's start on that Sunderland game. Obviously, only one win in 12 before that, but we finally got those all-important 3 points. The game probably wasn't the best in terms of quality from West Ham's point of view, but is that win the more important thing overall, do you think, Ian?
Of course it is. You know, there's been a bit of a slippery slope, hasn't there, after a great start to the season. And you need to put a stop to it. And I think even though it was a 1-0, it wasn't pretty. You know, the points are what's important.
Nigel, would you go along with that?
Sitting there watching it, I wouldn't say it was the best viewing in the world. It was good to get the goal at the end and finally celebrate a win since January, I believe. So, and if you look, you have to win the games against Sunderland at home. They're the games you're going to be ticking off that realistically we should win. So yes, the result was good, but you know, the performance weren't great. But then Sunderland are fighting them for their lives as well. So you can only beat what you put in front of, and if they're going to fight for everything as they did, you've got to grind them.
I think also having the dynamic of a new manager coming in, you know, that changes the outlook of the West Ham team also. You know, you do think that they're going to fight a little bit more, fight a little bit harder, and you go out with that mentality that we've got to match them fight for fight, and maybe it takes a little away from the football, you know.
Well, what about on our manager there, Sam Allardyce? Obviously, he's come under a lot of criticism during this run. Do you think it's sort of fundamentally his fault that we haven't been doing so well as we have been in the start of the season?
I never blame the manager, ever. Being a player and being out there, you're the one kicking the ball around, you're the one getting yourself in positions. I always believe that players should take responsibility. You know, if you feel like you're doing the right thing and it's against your manager's wishes, you run the gauntlet, as if it goes wrong, you'd probably get the shepherds and be sitting by him. But I think you've got to be big enough and brave enough to go out and make your own choices out there.
Nigel, players or manager, who are you going to blame?
I just threw a spanner in a way.
Yeah, you have, because it's interesting listening to that, because I had another player say that same thing to me, that when they cross the line, realistically, the performance is down to the players. The manager can only do so much. You know, perhaps Allardyce is an easy target, he's not well liked, and we look for anything that we can to blame him. The manager will set up the team though in a certain way and want you to do things, so therefore the manager should cop a certain amount of flack. The problem is, against the better teams in this bad run, you could say we've played really well. So it's when we've hit the lower teams like Palace, Everton, it's not gone too good, is it?
See, I agree, but I don't think he's putting players out there that aren't capable of playing football. He's still got players out there that are decent on the ball. If they want to adhere to what he's saying about lump it up there, then that's down to the players again, because it doesn't matter what formation you go out and you start with. At any given time in the game, you are a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. It depends on where the ball is, who's actually seeing that space to go into. It's only when you defend that you set up again, that you get your shape and structure. But when you're defending more than anything, I think it's the footballer who has the intelligence about the game. You know, you can talk about new managers now. Sam's an old school manager, but these aren't old school players that he's got. So I think it's down to them to take the responsibility when they go out there. They go out there, do their own thing, win the games. He won't say nothing.
I don't think we're a great lump it up team no more. I will say that if this was Sam's first season, perhaps we would be looking forward to seasons 2, 3 and 4. But where this is Sam's 4th season, and we've had seasons 1, 2 and 3, and the performances and the style of football, especially at times last season, you know, weren't really what we expect to watch at West Ham. This is where I think he's copping a lot of the flack. The fact is, his history is tainting him with what he's gone. If you just judge Sam now on this season, even I, probably one of the most anti-Sam fans there are, would say, yes, I've enjoyed going West Ham this season. where perhaps last couple of seasons it hasn't been enjoyable.
No, I do agree with you. Last season was a bit dire, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But I mean, it's getting better. One thing you briefly mentioned there was how in the bigger games we do seem to be able to up our performance and do well, but in the smaller ones against West Brom Palace, we've really looked far less superior as we did in recent weeks. So obviously that's a mentality issue more than anything.
Well, you look back at the history of the club. You know, even the 9 years I was here, that was the case, you know.
Yeah.
Anyone come to Upton Park under the lights, it didn't matter who it was. You know, we sort of seemed to raise our game. It was finding that consistency. I think that's probably the difference with the bigger squads. They've got that depth to keep it going more consistent, whereas I don't think we have that depth at the club even now to keep it going consistently. And we've shown with how we started and how we've slipped, I think.
Well, now we have got this win, Nigel. Do you think we can kick on from here? Do you think the players will receive sort of a boost from finally getting those 3 points?
You would like to think so. As I say, generally they say if the performance is there, the results will come. Perhaps that's borne it out in that was a good win, not a good performance. So we've got coming up Leicester, Stoke, lower teams. I think only Man City are the teams above us that we're going to be playing. So it was always about the running in a way. We knew that there was that difficult spot where we had Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham. So generally teams though that we are going to struggle against. So if you look at that as well, as long as we're beating the teams around us and below us, which is what we was doing at the start of the season when we prepared ourselves, that enabled us to pick up the wins against Liverpool and Man City that pushed us right up. Possibly it was a false position and a lot of people got carried away. I think we're probably about right in about where we are, sitting 8th, 9th.
Yeah, if you'd have said at the beginning of the season we'll finish top 10, you'd have took it any day of the week.
Of course.
And I think any performance is based on circumstances. If that was a relegation fight against Sunderland, you'd have been happy. You know what I mean? I think everybody would have took it performance as well. You know, which, you know, I think we can get carried away with, you know, it was us and Southampton up there at the beginning, and they've sort of sustained it a little bit more. But even them, playing in an attractive way, they still found it difficult to keep it as it was at the beginning. You know, they were looking at top 3 for a lot of the time, and they've slipped a little bit. It's hard when you don't have that depth to keep the run going, you know.
Well, let's hope that can kickstart a good end of season run for us and we can move on from here. Now, moving on to Roy Hodgson's latest England team. Once again, hammerless with no West Ham representatives in the side. We can have a look at it here. Guys, what are your initial impressions of that selection?
I don't think it's changed from a decade ago. I think they more or less find players who are in teams who are in form. You know, there's a couple of surprises on there. So if West Ham are one of them teams that aren't in form, then why aren't they there also? You know, a player like Mark Noble, I think should have been given his chance a while back.
Yeah.
You know, if you look on there isn't many more English players in the league. You know, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that if you've played in the Premier League or you play in the Premier League, you will probably get an England cap. And it's surprising me that he hasn't, especially.
Well, sticking on Mark Noble, Nigel, you've been speaking out on this on Twitter quite a bit. One man who sort of caused a lot of debate was Ryan Mason, who was named in the team after only really one sort of half of a breakthrough season with Spurs. I think fans, their problem is that Mark Noble, after performing at the top level for so long, has been given no chance whatsoever. I mean, what do you think? Surely he deserves a chance by now.
If you take Mark Noble as a footballer, is he top international quality where we want England to be, then you would say no, he wouldn't get in that team. If you then put it up against that squad with Ryan Mason, what Mark's done, gone through the under-21s, they say if you go through the under-21s, he's gone through it all and then he's not been allowed to have that step up. So yes, he does deserve a chance of a shot of a cap to see what he can do, and against Lithuania is probably the ideal team to put him out there, because if he doesn't play well against Lithuania, then it's probably ain't going to play well against Italy. So on that case, I look at it as an England fan in that I want England to be challenging Germany, Spain, Italy, the perennial European teams that always seem to do well. I see something the other day that said there was 175 English-born players playing in the top leagues of Europe, where there was nearly double Germans playing in the same leagues, and there was more Spanish, more French. I think that's the bigger problem. I mean, back for Mark Noble, it is unfortunate if you look, and just Townsend's not really performed at all this season.
Yeah.
So, yes, he deserves a chance there because he could easily lose his spot. Mason, he's come in. I've not really watched Tottenham, to be fair, so I can't really say if he's any good or not. I've watched Noble and he's a steady player. Six-back, he sprays the ball. We play better when he's in the team with the passing. But then, if you look, I might upset people, I think Jordan Henderson sits in that same role and he does it better than Mark Noble.
Yeah, that's probably a fair enough point.
I think the likes of Andros Townsend, I'm quite happy to see him there because I think he's been unfortunate with, you know, a change of manager and injury, and that he's stuck at him because he is a player capable of doing things. You know, I think he's in the same vein as Ross Barkley. You know, they say he hasn't really been performing at Everton, but you know there's a talent in there. You know there's something special. It's just waiting to come out. And I think Townsend, for me, for a little while, after Gareth Bale left, he seemed as if he was going to follow in his footsteps, and then just sort of hit a brick wall, you know. But, I mean, to give him another opportunity, this will be, I know it's going to breed confidence for Tottenham, which isn't, you know, exactly what we want. But, you know, we are England fans also, and we do want them to do well, you know.
Well, Nigel, where do you stand on the club v country debate? I mean, I think as West Ham fans in general, there's probably more of an alliance towards the club, towards West Ham. I mean, perhaps that's grown over time with the lack of representation. Where do you stand on that?
No, I'm a big England fan. I think the World Cup's the pinnacle of any sporting achievement anyone will win. You can see how we laud winning the World Cup in '66, how we've sort of took that from the nation and said that's ours, actually.
Yeah.
So you can see that we should always, realistically, want our players to go and play international football. If you've got players playing international football, they're doing something right. They're a team, you know. We sign players, we sign African players. People moan they go to the African Cup of Nations. But that means Sakho's done so well, he got into the squad, right? He got injured, so he didn't go. But he'd done so well at West Ham, he'd actually got into the squad. So that's a good thing, because if they're being picked internationally, they're doing it on the pitch for us. So
I think gave it to the nation rather than took it from the nation.
Well, yes.
I mean, then on another sort of slightly different point, you look at someone like Dean Ashton, who was injured on England duty, and that creates some sort of divide between fans and the national team because they're worried. I mean, even recently we've had a few injuries coming back from international duty. Kouyaté picked up a knock. I mean, there's that problem there. Do you think that's something that fans have just got to accept?
Well, fans, yeah, but you ask Dean Ashton, and he'll say, I'll go and get my England cap any day of the week.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I mean, unless they become blasé about it. You know, it used to be a thing of pride, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it still is. But I don't think as much now. Once you have got that number of caps behind you, I think the next one, maybe a friendly, is something, you know, you get a sense of how strong you are within that squad. And if you know you're coming back and it won't affect you. Someone like Dean, who wasn't a regular, would have taken the England game any day of the week. I'll guarantee he would say that.
Really?
Yeah.
So no regrets from his part there?
No, I would have done it. You can't justify getting injured anyway. You can get injured in training.
Sure.
What do? You protect yourself in training?
Yeah.
You asked Julian Dixter. Protect yourself in training.
Yeah. Well, moving now away from England back to the Premier League, referees have come under a lot of criticism this season for what seems to be a deteriorating standard of officiating. Ian, why do you think it's become so bad in the last few seasons? Why has this happened?
Well, to be honest with you, talking to referees, I'm sure Paolo won't mind if I just give this a wipe. It's going to be at sorry. Excuse me 1 second. Referees are driving me through it. Here we go.
Cheers. I think we can.
Yeah, I think we can.
You can raise a glass to that.
Yeah.
I'll drink that.
Here we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, Bish.
I honestly, referees, I can't believe how bad it's got. It seems to be 2 or 3 every week, and I don't know who's addressing it. I've got fed up with tweeting about it. You know, it's become dull and boring to me. It's the mistakes, they're mic'd up for what reason? Is the fourth official supposed to be telling them, watching a screen monitor and letting them know whether they've made a mistake or not? I remember a couple of years back they were saying it's got to be human error. Why? Why has it got to be human error anymore when the game's moving on? You know, they're getting conned by cheats. You know, for me, the biggest issue is they're not in touch with the game itself. These are people that have never played the game and don't understand the nuances of it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hurting the game. I love the game today. I don't, you know, without running the risk of sounding like an old fossil. I don't want to do that. I love the game today. I love the pace of the game. I love all these top quality players coming in. But all the falling around and the fake screams and, you know, something has to be done about that even after the game.
Yeah.
To punish them after the game. It's the only way you're going to cut that out. They find it easy to con refs today because refs aren't football savvy. I bet you, and I'll guarantee, they don't even watch games when they're not working. It's the way it seems to me. I've been really, really disappointed with the amount of games that have been ruined, you know, and how big this industry is now,
Yeah.
and what you stand to lose through what they call human error.
Well, it seems like the quality has gone down since the World Cup, where they were letting a lot of things flow, and the games continue in a more sort of fast-paced fashion. Do you see that as a problem, Nigel?
Not as such. I mean, I sort of disagree with Bish, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think you got to have the human error. We don't want robots as refs. We don't want robots as players. Players have human error, allowed to get away with it. Referees will make mistakes. That is the nature of the game. I always played that when you cross the white line, the referee's decision was final. It was arbitrary. I think a lot of mistakes are highlighted now purely by the amount of cameras in the ground and the new technology that able to slow everything down and zoom right in. Was he touched? Wasn't he? You know, players. I think the players have got a lot to answer themselves. You know, if professional footballers were boxers, it'd all be over after the first punch.
How many times you sang that song to the referee?
Well, yeah, yeah, but that's during the game, isn't it? When you look at it in the cold light of day.
What's the first thing you say afterwards if we've lost because of a dodgy
Well,
decision?
I don't. I'll leave that to the pros, the same.
See, but the thing is with players, if players make a mistake, they get yanked off, it affects them.
Yeah.
Referees make the mistake, it affects the whole business of it. Affects fans, players, the clubs, the chairman, the money people.
Everything.
It affects everything. So I think for that split second, look, something should be done for them to be able to, because it's going to protect them as well in a way, because you can get things wrong when it happens at a blink of an eye, but at the same time, if there's something else saying this is what really happened, it's not really his mistake because it's been rectified.
But what are they getting wrong that's so outstanding? Because it's all
Sending the wrong people off.
Sending the wrong people off. That isn't an easy thing that can be looked at after the game and sorted out. And the referee then should be drawn off the list and put out the different pastures until he's served his suspension and then brought back on a lower league game. But generally, a penalty.
You probably have no referees in the top flight.
It's debatable.
The thing is, why not something where a manager can review 2 decisions maximum per game, so that it doesn't slow down too much. But if there's something like a wrong identification of a player, which is a fundamental error, they should be able to sort of remove that with relative ease. I mean, it shouldn't take too long to quickly look at a replay and say, right, he's the wrong man.
Well, you look now. I don't think they need the time to look at it, because players stay down forever now anyway. So the time it's going to take them to get up, it's already been looked at. It can be done. It can be done in 5 seconds. Yeah. I'm sure it can on the monitor. 5 seconds isn't going to kill a game, because if somebody's gone down, it's that big a decision. He's either getting his kind of shaving foam out and pacing out the yards and squirting something on the floor. You know, how long does that take?
Yeah.
It could be said in his ear before he even does that.
But again, if you look at the John O'Shea, Wes Brown incident, people are going, oh, how can he get that one wrong? How can he get that one wrong? But when you listen to the referee, he actually thought it was Wes Brown that committed the penalty foul. He hadn't seen what John O'Shea done.
Right.
So technically, in his eyes, he didn't get the wrong man sent off.
This is why he needs the help, because he can't see it all. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
To help him and to help the decisions be the right decisions. That's why he needs the help. Let him get it wrong, that's fine. Let him have his... And if he's right, it will help them anyway and sharpen them up. If every now and again somebody says you didn't get that... If they're not getting told in the ear you got it wrong, then they're doing it right. You know, for himself, he's doing it right. He's doing his job right, and he's getting the majority right. But I just think it affects too many. Believe me, being a player, being out there, you don't want the game stopped. You know, people ask about when we played, I mean, people falling down. We didn't want to stay down or get the fella yellow carded, because if he got sent off, red carded, you wouldn't be able to get him back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all... there's so much going on in it now that the referees, I think it's blowing everything out of proportion. And I'm sure they'd want to be having the help now to make sure they didn't make these massive boo-boos. I honestly believe that the FA or some bodies should get lower league players, let's say people who've spent their time in the lower league, they've earned a decent wage, livable, but you know, they come to 35. Now let's give them 15 years and a refereeing course, 15 years of earning the same money, and at least they're ex-players who understand the nuances of the game.
I think the problem that's occurred is that a lot of the referees, they have to go through, they start off like 15, 16 doing the little kids football, they progress through the non-league and everything. Some of the referees are walking out there 27, 26, and you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, are you really ready for this? And
well,
sadly, they're lacking. But a lot of referees, they used to have to retire at 48, I think, and I think that was a problem, that pros would go to 35, 36. The time it would take for them to train up to be a referee, I don't think you can just go from playing to being a referee.
No, I think that's something you can do from 32 years old. If you want to prolong your income, if you know at 35 you're finishing, it's like doing a coaching course.
Yeah.
They're saying now, do it while you're still playing. It's easier, you know. You'll by the time you finish, you have it.
Yeah.
You have your qualifications. It's something, you know, because nobody just is thrown into being a referee. I'm not saying at 35 they're going to go, you be a referee. It's got to be something they want to do. And if it is a case of how many ex-players you find when they finish, they don't know where they're going with their life. It may be something and another option for them. And at the same time, the most important thing, you've got people out there officiating who understand the nuances of the game. When somebody's falling, when somebody's cheating, when a 50-50 shoulder to shoulder, just because one falls down, he gets the free kick.
Well, let's move on to an individual incident here. What about Tony Gale sending off Keith Hackett in the semi-final? What do you have to say about that?
Well, at the time, I still don't feel any different. I was supposed to listen to what he said, and I haven't even heard what he said. I don't even know what his apology was.
I actually interviewed him when he did the apology.
I don't even know what his apology was or what he said. I can't understand.
The thing, standing in front of Keith Hackett, he loves himself. I listened to him that night, and it was with Sam Allardyce was there. They were talking about refereeing on a refereeing website, You Are The Ref, and they did a show, and Keith was there, and me and my mate basically thought we might get an interview with Sam Allardyce, but that was a no-no. So left over was Keith Hackett. Now, Keith said a lot, and he said, I'm really sorry, I felt terrible. You know, afterwards when I spoke about it to make what Keith had said, I thought, that don't wash with me. I'm sorry. For me, the decision was a man who wanted to be the first to do it. He said the rule was changed on the Thursday. He implemented it on the Saturday.
I think I heard Gailey
on the
say
Sunday.
That. Did you say Gailey said that? Yeah.
But there was games played on the Saturday where it weren't implemented. So he made a name for himself by being the first man to implement that change. They were running away.
He had a couple of names in our dressing room as well.
You know, I didn't buy the apology. Perhaps I'd listened to him for the previous hour where he was saying, well, when I was running referees, it seemed like a bitter man to me that he weren't running referees still.
Okay, so going back to the implications in a bigger picture, look at this little kid who dreamed of going up the steps at Wembley, and that year I was captain of West Ham, and we're in a semi-final, and because of his human error or ego, it affects that many people. What did it do to the fans?
Well,
you know?
But as I said to my friend, I was at the game, and in a way, I'm not saying it changed the whole atmosphere of the game, but I'm not sure whether we'd have done what we'd done that game if it weren't for the fact of the injustice we felt at the sending off. We were on top. Paris hit the post.
Yeah, we hit the post twice, yeah.
Gone in.
Either side of half time.
And it was a brave surrender,
Well, I think from many fans he will never be forgiven, but we'll have to move on. Now onto the Tweets of the Week section. Every week we ask you to send in your questions for our special guests. Ian, we've got some stuff for you here. So first off, that hair, not really a question, but my word, glorious. anything to add to your Barnet there, which sort of receives a lot of attention?
No, it's just, I mean, I'm receding a little bit, but I've kept it. No temptation to dye it. I don't mind the salt and pepper.
Not blonde anytime soon?
No, you know, I think I could get away with it because I live near the beach. But no, I'm not gonna go that way.
Nigel, are you inspired maybe to grow yours out like that?
Believe it or not, actually, back in '91.
There was bishop wigs going around.
Yeah, I didn't need a wig.
I've been looking for a trendy hairstyle, and I swear, every time I go and sit down on the chair, I bottle it.
Yeah, every time.
I must admit, I do need to keep with the times, but
I think it's become iconic, so yeah, it's pretty good as well.
I'll go with that.
And then moving on to the next one from West Ham Geezer. What was your funniest moment on and off the pitch, if you can say, whilst at West Ham?
Funniest moment on and off the pitch? Wow.
I imagine there's a few.
There was 1,000 off the pitch, to tell you the truth. I only have to mention Johnny Moncair's name. There's none. There's none I could say.
Nothing?
On the pitch, the funniest thing that happened, but it wasn't at West Ham. I was playing for Carlisle, and a friend took a corner, left winger, and kicked the corner flag. And the ball sort of rolled 2 yards away, and he couldn't touch it again. The defender come out and didn't know what to do, and sort of block tackled, and as me mate block tackled, the ball broke, he crossed it, and we scored. You know, a little bit strange. A funny thing that did happen on the pitch when I was at Everton, we were playing in the Youth Cup, and we had Port Vale away, and they were leaving the lights off for as long as possible. And it was freezing, I had shorts and tracky bottoms on. And I needed a pee, and I couldn't make it in. So I think the field's this deep in mud, anyone, no one's going to notice.
Yeah.
And just as I started to pee, floodlights came on.
Oh, man.
Floodlights came on. I had to go in and change my shorts and my trackies.
Nightmare. Nigel, any funny stories to remember of Bish at his time at West Ham?
Funny, blimey, it was so long ago, sorry.
It's all right, while you're talking, I've got another 4 stories come out here.
Can't say anything funny springs to mind.
Well, OK, moving on to the next one in that case. What was your favourite match ever to play in from Gary Prince?
Well, we're talking about the semi-final.
Yeah.
I think I've said it before. It wasn't for the game itself. It was for the way the supporters were. You know, the Everton game in the FA Cup and the quarters before that, I thought, you know, we probably won't eclipse that. Especially for me, you know, going up against Howard Kendall and the club that I started at. And I can't describe the feeling being on the field after the injustice, and then just the pride you have in your own supporters. You know, I'd been through some bad times as well with the fans. I'd had some abuse, a few of the games, came through it, you know. As I said earlier, the other stuff with Trev, I think the West Ham fans stuck by us. But that day, just a non-stop Billy Bonds Claret Blue Army makes that game stand out
Special.
above anything, yeah. I mean, I thought it'd never be seen again, but I was at the Etihad last season for the last game, and my missus was with me, and City had won, and it wasn't a great performance by West Ham, but the West Ham fans stayed and applauded the City fans and the City players.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'd get any other club doing that.
No.
And the amount of feeling I had just doing that, my missus took a picture, and it doesn't even look like me. And my face is, I'm gone, you know. I wasn't gone with the beard. I was just gone with the emotion of it all and the pride of seeing that happen, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think you get that anywhere
That's a
else.
rarity these days, for sure. Nigel, what's your sort of fondest memory of Bish playing for West Ham?
He's filling up there, look.
Yeah, tears.
Find one, will you?
Yeah, blimey. I probably was around that 90, 91 period, that season when we went up.
Good season, yeah.
That was a great season under Bill. We should have won the league that year, unfortunately. Perhaps, I don't know if it was an overhang from the semi-final defeat that we sort of...
See what he's done. See what he's done.
So I brought it right
I gave
down.
the penalty away against Oldham, didn't I? I scored that pen and gave a pen away in the last 2 minutes, I think it was, last 3 minutes. The Notts County game was the last game we lost.
Yes, Notts County, yeah, we lost 2-1.
Yeah.
They win the playoffs that year, wasn't it, and win up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we threw it away, didn't we? I mean, the worst thing about that, we had the champagne ready in the dressing room. Oldham had only scored in the 6th minute of injury time. They'd been 2-0 down and won 3-2 or something.
Yeah.
Everything went against
The
us.
rumour was Keith Hackett was the referee at Oldham.
And then finally, one last question, which should be coming up. What was your favourite goal you scored for West Ham?
Favourite goal? I think I got one at Birmingham when I don't know whether we were 1-0 down and Kenny Brown scored, and I scored late on. That sort of helped us on the way to promotion. I don't think it clinched. It might clinch promotion, but not the title that year, was it? Or survival. You know what I mean? It didn't. We still had games left where we could have won the title, I think. I enjoyed that one. You know, Georgie Paris was playing for Birmingham that day, and it was nice to play against your friend as well. Yeah, I scored a nice... Oh, Port Vale as well, Port Vale away. I think that was a similar scenario. You know, I think that was the 91 season. We won 1-0 away at Port Vale, sort of close to the end. That might have been the one that clinched promotion. Different year, I know, but... I scored one against Blackburn, which I really liked.
Yeah.
We won 1-0.
A few
Yeah.
nice goals in there, you could say.
Yeah.
And then what
Not
about
many.
what about teammates? Who was the best one you played with during your long career?
I suppose I don't think I can go further than Julian.
Yeah.
Just someone who epitomised the fighting spirit of a footballer and the leadership without being really vocal as a captain, but left everything out there, you know, and in training. You know, I played with a lot of good players, but believe me, you know, Johnny Monks I used to enjoy playing with. I enjoyed the season where it was me, Monks and Mickey Marsh in there playing little triangles, and, you know, nobody could get the ball off us. And, you know, Slaven Bilic I thought was a good player. You know, I'm doing the likes of Alvin and Injustice and
Sure.
TC, Clive Allen.
I have to say, Julian Dix does seem to be that man everyone comes back to so far on this show. Everyone has such fond memories of playing with him as a player and as a captain, as a leader. It's amazing that literally he is the common choice for.
Well, I'm scared of him as well. So.
Yeah, well, he's probably the hardest player you played with as well, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely the hardest player I've seen.
What about the hardest player you've come up against as an opponent?
Probably Julian in training.
Yeah.
You know, you can talk about Stuart Pearce or, you know, Vinnie Jones even. You know, Vinnie, when he played against us, because we didn't go out and try and match them physically, we just thought they're not going to get the ball off us anyway. Vinnie used to drop deeper and deeper, so didn't really become a difficult opponent in that sense. You know, Stuart Pearce, it's awkward because he's playing over the other side of the field, but when I watch Julian and try and compare them, or when we did play against these players, they were more wary of him. So they weren't as tough, you know, as he actually was. But difficult opponents, tough opponents in a football sense, more for me, you know.
Sure.
Being a midfield player. I mean, even someone as tough as Roy Keane, you know, didn't really go out and battle him physically. It was more a football thing. He could play, but, you know, it was never a battle like that. I mean, I wouldn't say I was the greatest tackler anyway, but I could put my foot in.
Yeah.
You know, I could put my foot in when it was needed, and the fans let you know if you didn't. That's the thing, you know. If you looked like you'd shirked something or wasn't sure, they'd let you know. So you really couldn't get away with it.
Well, just to end on, other than styling your hair these days, what are you up to? Are you still in contact with many of the ex-players you played with?
Yeah, I spoke to Kenny Brown this morning. I seen Stevie Potts today. Spoke to Stuart Slater on the phone. Tony Gale and TC come over to Florida once a year, and I didn't think it was possible, but Tony's getting smaller, TC, and Gailey's getting bigger. I think Gailey's like eating them slowly, you know, and TC doesn't know about it. But I seen Trev in Naples, and I'm actually going over to Norway in a couple of weeks to do some TV work over there. I speak to Julian now and again, Alvin now and again.
It's good to hear that you are still relatively,
Yeah, you know what? People ask you because, I mean, what I'm doing now is I'm bringing players over, and to stop and realise how many of my friends are in the game now, still in the game.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice. You say I had a great career, but when I look at the overall impact, I made a lot of friends. I don't remember making an enemy in the dressing room.
No.
You know, and it's nice to feel like that, to be able to pick the phone up and know that somebody's going to be there for you.
Sure, yeah.
If you need their help, or if I need to bring a player over, it's not really in doubt, you know.
Nigel, with that sort of generation of players in speaking about there, is that one of your favourites in memory, would you say?
It was a difficult time. He came in under Lou Macari. It was up and down because you had the bond scheme, you had a lot of the problems there with the fans.
Forgot about that.
Sorry, disruption. I always remember the
was chaos, yeah.
And
No, it's fine. It's something we went through.
And everything. But then we came out of it. We had the problems with Billy and Harry, whatever happened there. And then we came out of it. And then I think if you look in the middle seasons, towards the end of your career, the football we played under Harry was quite good. When did you leave? 98?
98, yeah.
Yeah. If you look back, when John Hartson came into the team, and Ilga Berkovic, Kitson, you know, sort of when we signed Hartson and Kitson, we were down. We beat Tottenham, great game under the lights. We then progressed the next season, where I think we finished 7th, where we'd been languishing. And we had 3 years top 10. So around that period, yeah, great times.
Yeah,
great
fond
times.
memories.
Nothing will top 91 though. That game for me, people say that's my favourite game. Just the fact that I was there. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much to my guests this week, Ian and Nigel. Guys, you've been great. You can catch us again same time next week. Until then, all that's left to say is come on you Irons.
Come on, you.
Come on, you Irons.